The silent night sky above the small human settlement shimmered with stars, but one star was not a star at all. It was a stealth craft, sliding through the upper atmosphere like a shadow with purpose. Inside it stood an alien woman, tall and built for battle. Her skin a pale silver shade that reflected the dim red interior lights. Her name was Saraxa, a soldier engineered by the Kalar Dominion. Her mission was simple: reach Earth, destroy a specific target, leave no witnesses, and return home. She had carried out missions like this dozens of times before, never hesitating, never questioning. She was raised in war, shaped by commands, strengthened by duty. But this mission had one unusual detail that annoyed her. Her target was not a general, not a scientist, not even a soldier. Her target was a musician, a man known in this region as Elias, a blind musician who played old-style instruments for the local community. Saraxa had not been told why he needed to be eliminated. She did not care. Orders were orders, and she followed them. Her ship landed quietly beyond the tree line. The night breeze moved through the leaves as she stepped out, her armored boots sinking softly into the soil. She activated her camouflage, transforming her glowing armor into the colors of the forest, and began walking toward the settlement. She moved with the grace of a trained predator, her senses sharp, her mind focused. She scanned heat signatures, recorded sound waves, and mapped the entire area within seconds. Only one house glowed with dim, warm light: his house. She approached it slowly, studying it from a distance. It was small, almost fragile, with wooden walls, a single porch light, and a wind chime that moved gently with the breeze. She paused, surprised by the sound of the chime. It produced a soft, calming tone that felt strangely peaceful to her. Battlefields never had such sounds. Her world had never allowed such softness. Then she detected movement inside. Footsteps, quiet, slow, human. Her visor identified the target: Elias. She stepped closer, silently, until she reached the porch. She could see him through the window now, a man in his late 20s, with dark hair falling over his forehead, sitting with an old-style string instrument on his lap. His eyes were pale and unfocused, proving the reports true. He was blind. Saraxa found this confusing. What threat could a blind musician be to the Dominion? She reminded herself not to question orders. She reached for her weapon, ready to phase through the door, but before she could move, something unexpected happened. Elias began to play. At first it was soft, almost hesitant, like a whisper of wind moving through distant memories. Then the notes grew warmer, fuller, wrapping the room and the forest outside in a gentle embrace of sound. The melody had no aggression, no fear, no warning. It carried something entirely foreign to Saraxa's training. It carried peace. She froze, her hand hovering near her weapon. Her sensors registered nothing threatening about the music. Yet for the first time in her life, something inside her hesitated. She felt still, as if her mind had stopped marching in the same direction her entire life and had turned towards something she didn't understand. She moved quietly to the side of the house and positioned herself near an open window. She could hear him perfectly now. The music was soft, beautiful, rich with emotion she did not recognize. She watched him sway slightly as he played, his fingers moving gently across the strings. His face held no tension, no anger, only a deep connection to the sound. He suddenly spoke, causing Saraxa to stiffen. "You're listening, aren't you?" She stepped back, surprised. Her camouflage was active. She made no sound. No human should sense her presence. Elias lifted his head slightly, not facing her direction exactly, but his voice floated toward the open window with calm certainty. "I may not see," he said softly, "but I can feel when someone is here. I don't have to see to know the world is full of listeners." Saraxa remained silent. He smiled faintly. "You're quiet. Most people at least say hello." She didn't move. She didn't respond. She didn't know how to react. He continued playing, filling the room with soft notes. If you want to come in, the door isn't locked. Saraxa's fingers tightened around her weapon. She should have ended the mission right here. One step, one shot, and she could return home. But she did something she had never done on a mission. She paused. Something in his tone, something in the music, something in the way he invited an unseen stranger into his home made her hesitate. She walked slowly around to the door and opened it. Elias didn't look up. But he smiled gently, as if he sensed her exactly. "You walk heavy," he said. "But your steps, they're controlled. You're either a soldier or someone who carries a heavy world on their shoulders." Saraxa's heartbeat quickened. No human had ever read her so easily. She activated her universal translator, leaving her helmet on. "I am neither," she lied. "Everyone is something," he replied calmly, still playing. She turned her head slightly, studying him. "You cannot see me." "No," he said with a soft chuckle. "But sometimes, people who can't see pay attention better than those who can." Her instincts warned her to stay alert, yet she felt no danger from him. His presence was unlike any human she had encountered. He showed no fear, no curiosity about her gear, and no suspicion about her silence. He simply kept playing. The melody shifted, becoming gentler, slower, almost like a quiet heartbeat. Saraxa found herself stepping deeper into the room, her armor glinting faintly in the dim light. She looked around. The house was simple: a bed in one corner, shelves of old books and instruments, a small table with a few objects neatly arranged. Everything felt peaceful. She did not know peace. Elias tilted his head. "You're standing near the bookshelf." She froze. "How do you know that?" "I can hear where your breath bounces," he said simply. "Different surfaces reflect differently. It's like sound painting a picture." Saraxa didn't understand humans, but this one confused her more than most. She moved again, and he nodded as if tracking her movements through invisible senses. "You have metal on your body," he said softly. "Armor? It is none of your concern." He smiled as if her cold tone didn't bother him. "You don't sound like someone who came here for music." Saraxa's chest tightened. He was right. He placed the instrument aside gently. "You can tell me the truth, no matter how frightening it is." She stared at him, feeling an unusual conflict. He was her target. Yet here he was, trusting a stranger who entered his home silently in the middle of the night. "Why do you play music?" she suddenly asked. Elias seemed surprised by the question. "Because music lets me feel the world. When you can't see, you listen deeper. You experience things others don't notice. Every person who listens to my music leaves a piece of themselves in it." Saraxa's throat tightened. "You do not know me." "Not yet," he replied softly. Something inside her shook. She took a step closer before she even realized she was moving. Elias lifted his hand slightly, feeling the air. "You're close now," he whispered. She stopped. He reached his hand forward gently. "May I?" Saraxa had never allowed a human to touch her armor before. She knew she should refuse, but something in his calm voice made her remain still. His fingertips brushed the metal, moving slowly across the smooth surface. A soft smile spread across his face. "Cold on the outside," he said. "But the way you breathe tells me you're not cold inside." She didn't know how to breathe for a moment. He lowered his hand. "You came with pain in your steps," he said quietly. "You carry something heavy. I don't know what it is, but I hope you don't have to keep carrying it alone." Saraxa felt her chest tighten again. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever seen past her armor, not even her own people. She glanced at her weapon, then at Elias. She couldn't kill him now. Not after this. Not after hearing the music. Not after feeling something she had never felt before. Her voice came out softer than she expected. "You should rest." Elias nodded. "Will you stay?" Her breath caught. "Why?" "Because." He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "Tonight, your silence sounded lonely." Saraxa felt something strange in her chest, an emotion she had never known, something warm and confusing. She didn't understand it, But she didn't reject it. She deactivated her visor, allowing her face to show for the first time on a mission. Elias couldn't see her. But somehow, that made it easier. She sat on the floor near him while he leaned back in his chair and started playing again. The music filled the room slowly, softly, beautifully. Saraxa listened, with her heart beating in a way she had never experienced. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know how long she could resist her orders. But in this moment, she stayed, and for the first time in her life, she felt human. Saraxa had never spent a night on an enemy world without fearing discovery, but somehow, sitting near the blind musician as he played soft melodies, she felt none of her usual anxiety. The sound of the strings washed over her like warmth she didn't understand. Elias played for nearly an hour. And during that time she didn't move, didn't reach for her weapon, didn't check her sensors. She simply listened. When the final note faded into silence, Elias placed the instrument gently on the table. His unfocused eyes turned slightly toward her. "You stayed," he said with quiet certainty. Saraxa nodded before remembering he couldn't see. "Yes," he smiled, not embarrassed by his blindness. "Good. I didn't want you to leave with that heavy feeling still in your steps." She looked away, unsure how to respond. Everything about him was disarming. In her world, emotions were weapons or weaknesses. Here, they were part of everyday life. Elias shifted slightly in his chair. "I made tea earlier. It should still be warm. Would you like some?" Saraxa blinked. No one had ever offered her something with kindness before. Her missions usually ended in destruction. Her interactions with others were cold orders or reports. This simple offer felt strange. "What is tea?" she asked honestly. Elias chuckled softly. "A warm drink. Helps people relax. Or think. Or pretend they understand life better than they actually do." She stared at him, realizing she did not know how to answer something like that. "I can pour you some," he said, standing carefully and walking toward the small kitchen counter. His movements were slow but confident, each step measured by years of experience navigating a world he couldn't see. He reached the kettle, touched its handle, and nodded to himself. Still warm, Saraxa watched him pour the tea into 2 cups without spilling a drop. She was trained to memorize patterns, but she couldn't understand how he sensed everything around him. When he handed 1 cup in her direction, she hesitated. Touching something offered with kindness felt almost dangerous, as if it could weaken her, but she took it anyway. Elias sat again and exhaled deeply. "It's quiet tonight." Saraxa tasted the tea. It was warm, a little bitter, yet calming. "Your planet is peaceful." He laughed gently. "Only because you haven't seen morning traffic." She tilted her head. "Traffic? Humans trying to get somewhere fast," he explained. "Everyone thinks they're late for something. Maybe that's why people don't listen like they used to." Quote, "You listen," Saraxa said without thinking. He smiled faintly. "Because sound is my world." Saraxa felt something inside her shift again. Like something sharp inside her chest had softened. But her mission still stood between them. She set the cup down. "Elias," she said slowly, "do you know why I came here?" He leaned back slightly. "I don't think you came here to hurt me." Her breath caught. "Why would you say that?" "Because if hurting me was your purpose," he said gently, "you would have done it already." Saraxa didn't know whether to feel exposed or understood. No one had ever read her intentions so easily. She looked away, her voice heavy. "I came here because someone wanted you gone." Elias didn't flinch. "And you?" "I don't know anymore." The words came out quietly, almost painfully. She wasn't supposed to say that. She wasn't supposed to feel anything that distracted from her mission. Yet, here she was, admitting weakness. Elias folded his hands. "May I ask you something?" She nodded. "Do you want to be the kind of person who follows cruel orders?" Saraxa felt a sudden heat in her chest, a feeling she couldn't explain. "I was created to follow orders." I created? He repeated softly. She realized she had revealed more than she intended. But he was calm, patient. He didn't look shocked or afraid. He simply waited for her to continue at her own pace. Saraxa exhaled slowly. My people engineer soldiers. They decide who we are, who we fight, who we destroy. They don't ask what we want. And what do you want? She froze. No one had ever asked her that before. Not once in her entire life. She searched herself for an answer, but all she found was confusion. I don't know. That's okay, Elias replied kindly. Most people don't know what they want. They only figure it out when something or someone makes them see the world differently. She met his empty gaze. You are trying to make me question my purpose. No, he said with a soft smile. I'm just letting you see that you have a choice. Even soldiers have hearts. Saraxa felt her chest tighten at the word. Heart. She didn't think she had one, not in the way he meant. A soft wind pushed against the window, and Elias listened to it for a moment before speaking again. You don't sound like someone who wants to hurt the world. I do not want to hurt this world, she admitted quietly. What changed? He asked. Saraxa looked at him, at his gentle expression, at his calmness. She remembered the way he played the instrument, the way his music had touched something deep inside her. You, she said softly. Your music. He smiled as if the answer didn't surprise him. Music does that sometimes. Saraxa stood slowly, restless. Elias, I cannot stay long. If my commanders do not receive my confirmation, they will assume failure. And what happens then? He asked. She hesitated. They will send another. His expression shifted slightly. Someone without hesitation. Yes. He rested his hands on his knees. Then you saved my life twice. She frowned. How? First, by not killing me, he said. Second, by telling the truth. Saraxa didn't know what to say. She had never been thanked before. She had never been treated as anything but a weapon. A sudden beep echoed from her wrist communicator. She looked down sharply. Her commanders were requesting an update. Elias sensed her tension. Is that them? Yes. She clenched her teeth. They want confirmation that the target is eliminated. And if you don't respond, they will track my location. Elias took a deep breath. Then you need to make a choice. She stared at him, feeling torn in ways she had never felt. Her entire life had been built around obedience. Now she met a single human, one blind musician, and everything inside her was coming undone. They will punish me if I disobey, she whispered. Elias tilted his head toward her voice. Do you want to obey something that destroys innocent people? Saraxa's hands shook. I don't know another way to live. Then let me show you another way, Elias said softly. Her breath caught. How can you show me anything? You cannot see. He smiled gently. You don't have to see the world to understand it. Sometimes you only need to feel it. His words wrapped around her like the music had earlier. She found herself stepping closer without realizing it. Elias reached his hand out slightly, not touching her, but offering something unseen. You told me your people created you, he said quietly. But they didn't give you your heart. You found that yourself. She felt her pulse quicken. I don't know what I'm feeling. That means it's real, Elias whispered. Real feelings always confuse people. The warmth in her chest grew, almost overwhelming. She didn't know how to control it. She didn't know how to name it. But she knew it came from him. From his voice, his kindness, his music, his ability to understand her better than anyone ever had. The communicator beeped again, sharper this time. A warning. Saraxa stepped back in panic. I must send something. They will come. Then lie, Elias said simply. Tell them I'm gone. Tell them whatever keeps us safe tonight. 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Saraxa hesitated. She had never lied to her commanders. She had never taken such a risk. But then she looked at Elias, the man who had let a stranger walk into his home, who had spoken to her without fear, who had touched her armor gently as if it were not a weapon. For him, she lifted her wrist and typed a short message. Target neutralized. Body vaporized. Mission complete. Her entire body trembled as she sent it. This was the first act of rebellion in her life. She had crossed a line she could never uncross. Elias seemed to feel the shift in the room. You made your choice. Saraxa swallowed hard. They believe the message. That gives you time, he said. She lowered her arms slowly, her eyes never leaving him. I do not understand what is happening to me. Elias smiled softly. You're just finally living. Saraxa felt her chest warm again, an unfamiliar, gentle, frightening warmth. And for the first time, she wanted to protect something. Not because she was ordered, but because her heart told her to. Saraxa felt a strange calm after sending the false confirmation. It was the calm that comes after falling off a cliff too late to climb back. And unsure where she would land, she stood quietly in the small room, breathing slowly as Elias waited for her to speak. What happens now? He asked softly. Saraxa didn't know. Her mind had always been a machine of quick decisions, mapping out consequences instantly. But tonight, she could not see further than this small room, this gentle human, and the quiet music still lingering in the air like a warm memory. They will not come immediately, she said, her voice steadying. But they may check this area after a few days. They are not easily fooled. Elias nodded calmly. Then we have a little time. Saraxa turned to the window, scanning the night with practiced eyes. The forest looked peaceful, but her instincts reminded her that danger hid in silence too. She stepped outside and checked the sensors on her armor. Everything seemed normal, but her heart beat faster than any signal could track. Elias followed her steps by listening to the sound of her boots on the wooden floor. You're worried. You're worried. For the first time, she admitted. My choices affect someone other than myself. They always did, Elias said gently. You just finally care. Saraxa didn't know how to describe the tight warmth inside her chest when he said that. She had been created without softness. Yet Elias seemed to be finding parts of her she didn't know existed. She walked back inside, sat near him again, and asked quietly, Why were you targeted? What threat are you to my people? Elias leaned back in his chair. Maybe I'm not a threat at all. Maybe someone simply believed I could be. Saraxa frowned. Explain. My music travels far, he said. People record it, share it, send it out into the universe through signals and broadcasts. They say it reaches places no human has ever visited. Maybe someone from your dominion heard it and thought it was something dangerous. Saraxa considered this. Music cannot be dangerous. Elias smiled faintly. You heard it. It changed you. Her breath paused. She hadn't realized until now that yes, she had changed because of it. The melody, the softness, the peace. It had threatened the Dominion's control over her more than any weapon could. If she could feel something, she could question something. And if she questioned something, she could disobey. Elias whispered, Maybe someone feared that music could make more of your people change. Saraxa felt a chill. She wasn't sure if music could reach Keller soldiers. But she did know her leaders hated anything that stirred emotions. Emotions made soldiers unreliable. They sent me to kill a sound, she said quietly, almost in disbelief. They sent you to kill a man, Elias corrected gently. But they didn't understand that what I do isn't dangerous. It's just human. Saraxa's voice softened. Human. But powerful. Elias smiled. That's what humanity is. Weak in many things, strong in others. She looked down at her armored hands. I do not know if I can stay here. If they search this region, they will find your home first. Then we go somewhere else, Elias said simply. Saraxa blinked. You would leave your home for me? He tilted his head. You risked your life for mine. Her chest tightened again. She didn't understand how these exchanges worked, giving, receiving, protecting, but she knew it felt right. I can take you far, she said. I know how to hide from Dominion scanners. I know planets they avoid. And you want me to go with you? He asked softly. Saraxa hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes. Elias didn't smile this time. Instead, he reached out slightly, and she moved closer so he could rest his fingertips gently on her gauntlet again. Where would we go? Somewhere safe, she whispered. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere your music can live. Elias sighed deeply. Then yes, I'll go. Saraxa wasn't expecting the answer to strike her so deeply. She felt something almost painful in her chest, relief, gratitude, and something she didn't have a name for yet. She stood and began planning. We must leave by sunrise. I need to hide signs of your disappearance so they do not search for you too quickly. Elias stood with his cane in hand. Tell me what to do. Saraxa admired his calmness. Any other human might panic at the idea of leaving their life behind. But Elias trusted her completely. They packed quietly. Elias grabbed a few instruments, feeling them carefully before placing them in a small bag. Saraxa collected their cups, the kettle, a blanket, and placed them aside so the house looked untouched. When she was done, Elias stood in the center of the room, listening. This place has been my world for years, he said softly. It heard every note I played. It kept me safe. And now, I'm saying goodbye. Saraxa didn't know how to comfort him, so she placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Elias reached up and touched her gauntlet again, nodding. It's okay, he whispered. New worlds exist. They stepped outside into the cool pre-dawn air. The forest was quiet except for distant crickets and the faint rustling of leaves. Saraxa kept one hand near Elias, guiding him carefully. He walked with surprising confidence, as if the world was never dark to him. When they reached her stealth craft hidden among the trees, Elias took a slow breath. This is big. Saraxa smiled slightly. It is standard size. I meant it feels big, he said with a small laugh. I can hear the air vibrating differently. She helped him step inside. The interior lights adjusted automatically. Soft and warm. Not bright enough to hurt human eyes. Elias touched the metal walls lightly. What's this place like? He asked. A place built for war, she answered. But tonight, it will protect. He took a seat near the center console while Saraxa prepared the ship for launch. The hum of the engines filled the cabin with a soft, steady vibration. Elias closed his eyes, letting the sound guide him. You're nervous, he said quietly. Saraxa paused. How do you know? The engine hum changed when you hesitated, he said with a soft smile. And your breath is tighter. She felt exposed again. But somehow, it didn't bother her. My people will think I betrayed them, she admitted. They will hunt me. Do you regret saving me? Elias asked. No. The answer came instantly. Not at all. Then you didn't betray yourself, he said simply. That matters more. Saraxa didn't speak again until the ship lifted off, rising through the trees and into the sky. Elias held onto the seat gently as the craft moved smoothly above the forest. What does it look like? He asked, as they broke through the clouds. Saraxa hesitated, then described softly. The sky is turning blue as dawn rises. The clouds are like soft white rivers. The sun is just beginning to touch the horizon. It looks like the world is waking up. X. Elias closed his eyes and smiled. I can picture it. They flew higher, entering the cold silence of space. Stars stretched across the dark, endless sky like scattered diamonds. Elias listened to the quiet hum of the ship, comforted by the presence of the woman who had come to destroy him but instead saved his life. After a long silence, Elias spoke again. Saraxa? Yes? What will you do now? You can't return to your dominion. No, she agreed. I cannot. Where will you go? She stared at the stars. Wherever you are. Elias's breath caught softly. You mean that? Yes. The words felt heavy and true. She had chosen him. Chosen this strange human who played music and saw the world not with his eyes but with his heart. Elias reached out his hand in her direction. Saraxa took it gently, her armored fingers curling around his. Though she had no experience with human gestures, She understood the meaning instantly. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. Saraxa's voice softened. "Neither are you." The ship continued drifting through the quiet space, carrying them deeper into a future neither of them could predict. But for the first time, Saraxa didn't fear the unknown. Elias's presence beside her felt like a promise, a quiet, gentle promise that she had found something stronger than programming. Stronger than duty. She had found connection. She had found choice. She had found a heart that listened to hers, not because she was created to feel, but because someone taught her how. And as the stars opened before them, Saraxa knew one thing clearly. Her mission had changed. Her life had changed. Because a blind musician touched her heart,